Hey, so I just want to pop in really quick and talk about a book I just read. It's by a doctor called Anthony J. Sattilaro. He's from Philadelphia. The book was published in the early 80s. So, anyway, he was from Philadelphia. He was in his late 40s. He was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. They had biopsied his prostate, one of his testicles, and part of his right rib, uh, one of his right ribs, and they found it had metastasized. Stage 4 prostate cancer. So they removed his testicles because the testosterone would aggravate the condition. He was put on estrogen therapy and pain meds, and he was given a very poor prognosis. So they said he would not last another 5 years and probably be dead sooner than that in the next maybe 3 years. So at the same time that this was happening, as if it wasn't enough, his father was dying of cancer. And so very soon after Anthony was diagnosed, his father passed. And needless to say, then, he was going through a lot of mental anguish, a lot of trauma in his life. He was falling apart. He thought he was a goner. And on the way back from his parents, on the way back from burying his father, he picked up two hitchhikers on his way back to his home in Philadelphia. These hitchhikers talked about how they just finished a class on the macrobiotic diet, which is a diet that consists of just brown rice, sea vegetables, other vegetables, and possibly a little fruit and some rare fish. This is a largely plant-based diet, except for the fish, which is a rare inclusion, if that at all. And so they said that Tony could get rid of his cancer by following this way of life and this diet. And so after they parted, they sent him some literature, and Tony checked it out, and he decided to look into it. He attended cooking classes and instruction from the local macrobiotic community and decided to give it a try. He met up with some of the people, some of the followers of this way of life and diet, and they started to eat together. He didn't like it at first, but he persisted. He felt he didn't have any other option because everything else was not working. He was experiencing a lot of pain still. So the more he ate the diet, he was getting a lot better, pain relief, and he had a brighter outlook. He had doubts still because he came from a world that embraced, of course, the medical tradition and how it's conventionally practiced. So this was a new way of life for him. But since he was feeling a lot better by eating this new way, he wanted to hold on to it. He thought there was something to it. He thought maybe if this worked and he could get better with this food, that he could be an example for others. And soon after that, he had some lab tests done. They were markedly improved from his last values, and a repeat bone scan showed that he was negative. He had cleared up the cancer. And so he was pretty elated. He started spreading the word. The word got around, and he decided to go off his estrogen therapy. All was going well, and then he got thyroiditis. And so he was put on drugs for that. And this was for some other reason besides the cancer. But after all of that, he did a repeat bone scan, which showed some activity in his ribs. So he started to worry, is the cancer coming back? But he remained strong. He stuck to his faith, his rekindled faith, and he stuck with the advice from the macro community, especially the leader of the movement, whose name is Michio Kushi. And he remained resilient despite the uncertainty. And it turns out that what caused the flare up or the positive results of the new bone scan was actually his body getting rid of the drugs that he was taking, the thyroiditis, and the treatment was exacerbating the cancer in him that was left, even though it was small, to show this positive bone scan. And so once he whittled down and weaned off the drugs, of course staying with the diet still, another bone scan showed negative results, no sign of cancer. So that, from just being strong, sticking with his conviction, following the diet, remaining on the diet still, and keeping his faith, keeping his spirituality and his positive attitude, he was just fine. And all the worry was for naught, as long as he stuck to the good way of life and the good way of eating and the great thinking that he had. And the advice from his good friends. And so that's pretty much how the book ends. He really stresses in the book how he rekindled his faith. He was a Christian, and he had gave it up for some time, but after starting the new diet, he went back to his faith and really became a stronger man from it. And that, in combination with the new lifestyle and diet, how he was feeling better physically, really changed him into a new man, to be less self-centered, have more humility, embrace life more and appreciate life more, and realize that everyone is blessed all the time, even though we sometimes seemingly don't deserve it or are not worthy of it. That's another thing that he stresses, that he felt he didn't deserve a second chance, but he got one. That's the generosity of God, to bless us, even the unworthy, but bless us especially if we stay on a good path and or get on a better path or get on the right path after being on the wrong one. So, great book. Again, it's Recalled by Life by Dr. Anthony J. Sattilaro, MD. I recommend it to everyone.